And finally, Mr. Bخآری, you in your testimony you mentioned Arshad Sharif's assassination in Kenya. That's sending shockwaves and making it hard for journalists, whether they are abroad or in country, to be able to exercise their ability to do their work. Can you elaborate a little bit about how has that shifted the culture for folks within country, not just those outside of the country?
Sure. I mean, Pakistan in general has over about 200 independent private channels. So actually, it was a very vibrant. We had very vibrant media that was always criticizing, questioning, analyzing the government to be. We've always had issues with media and the intelligence agencies, but they've been very minute compared to the overall. This time, you see all your top, after Arshad Sharif's death, you see all the top 5, 10 journalists who are the best anchors in our country are either in exile, or they've taken gardening leave sabbaticals. Kashif Abbasi is probably one of the biggest anchor. I think you met him in your last trip. He's one of the best anchors in the country, if not the. He's on gardening leave, and reason is because he refuses to talk about weather, on a 9 o'clock show. These are this. I'm being serious, and so this is what happens. We've got Dr. Moin Pirzada, who's one of our most respected TV personalities. He's here in Pakistan and US. He can't go back, and this is happening now across the board. You'll see a lot of people moving towards these YouTube channels. Hence, last week you saw the magistrate court's order. I would just like to say, if I may, Congresswoman, is that when you asked Jared about what's coming, just recently, due to the 26th Amendment, our reserve seats were snatched away and stolen from us. Our reserve seats, believe it or not, are of women, are apportionment of what you have in Parliament. And despite the brutal rigging that we had in the 2024 election, the portion of what you win in the National Assembly, you get given reserve seats, which are for basically women and non-Muslims. Those were snatched all away from us. What's coming in the coming days or weeks is that you're going to see this government now is going to, and the military courts are going to convict even more MNAs, members of National Assembly, in the May 9th cases, in the garb of these May 9th cases. So we're probably going to end up losing another 20 to 30 seats in Parliament because they're going to be convicted for either 10 years or 10 years thingy. So we're going to have less of a majority, because despite all of this, we were the single largest party in Parliament still. So in the coming days, weeks, or months, you're going to see them try to decrease our number even further so that they can strengthen themselves.
Really appreciate that, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. I know that Mr. Sadiq Amani, you said that the Pakistani government was fighting us and fighting with the Taliban. It's actually the inverse is true. The Pakistani government was helping the United States fight its war in Afghanistan, and actually, I think, took a lot of losses, not just in credibility with the Muslim world, who saw them as betraying their allegiance, but also created problems for them with terrorism in itself. So since you were concerned about us telling the truth in this committee, I just wanted to mention that. With that, Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you very much. Just to conclude, as a pivot from this hearing, we will press hard for the religious freedom sanctions to see if that can be done. Raise all of these issues, obviously, with the administration. We'll do a letter, again, to the Pakistani leadership asking for Khan's and his wife's release and all the other prisoners, and pivot your testimonies as being another major wake-up call to Congress and the executive branch from totally responsible and incisive testimonies that you have provided. So I thank you for that. We'll get working on that letter. Any thoughts that you have as how we should draft it? But your testimonies speak for themselves, and that will help. I worked closely with Shahbaz Bhatti, who was horribly assassinated in 2011. Met with him many times. He really had this belief that there could be religious pluralism, that there can be coexistence, and he believed it to his bones and to the core of his being, and yet he was assassinated. I met with Benazir Bhutto many times, going as far back as the Cairo Population Conference when she was there, or the women's it was in Beijing, and she was a very, very articulate, effective leader. Whether you agree with her politics or not, I agreed a lot with it, but she was very effective. She was assassinated. And now, of course, if we're all talking about, with Arshad being assassinated as well, a prominent member of the media, we need to call out, this isn't just transnational with him. Repression is transnational terrorism. And we need to make sure that the government knows that we hate it, and we're going to speak out against it and use sanctions to the best of our ability to try to mitigate it. I would point out that presidents have a propensity to meet with all sides. I chair the China Commission. I've worked on human rights in China. I've chaired 107 hearings. I'm barred from going to China these days. I'm barred from going to Minsk these days, Belarus, because of the Belarus Democracy Act, which I wrote in 2004 and have done 3 since. Barred from Russia too. You got that one right. And so what I'm saying is that our presidents traditionally have met with people who are unsavory. Why meet with Xi Jinping? Well, he is the president, but he's also a butcher, and he's committing genocide against the Uyghur, as we meet here again today. But you got to meet with him to fight with him. Even President Clinton had the butcher of Beijing, Cha Haitian, who came here. He ordered the operational commander, sent the tanks in, killed all kinds of people. He goes to the Army War College and says nobody died at Tiananmen Square. I put together a hearing within 2 days, had all of these witnesses who saw it, including the Time magazine correspondent, a editor from the People's Daily who went to prison for trying to report on the truth. And we had an empty chair. We invited him to come too. But he went to the White House. He was now defense minister, promoted because of his brutality. And I did ask the president, don't do that, please, but he did it. But that said, unsavory people, and we got to make sure that when they have that conversation in the White House, it is no holds bars. And they say, look, you may be the chief of staff of the military, or whatever you might be, but we find this absolutely objectionable. We're going to speak out. So we're going to follow up on everything. Your testimonies, your courage is extraordinary, and I can't thank you enough for it. And thank you, Jared, for always being a man of so many great ideas. And we've worked with Jared on a lot of countries around the world, and he is all in on Pakistan, and I thank him for that. The hearing's adjourned.